So this tiny piece of metal here has travelled over 4,500 miles just so I can fix my Aston Martin from my own mistakes. So most of you will probably know the importance of this part, but if you missed out on that video, then let me explain it to you quickly. So 2 videos ago, I was working on my Aston Martin and changed the track rod end, inner tie rod, and the anti-roll bar drop link on this side. Now, when I took the old track rod end out, I chucked it straight away, not realising there was a little metal piece I needed to transfer back into the hub. And obviously, as my luck goes, that piece is pretty much unobtainable, but I have managed to do the unimaginable and get one. But it wasn't easy. Nowhere in the UK had one, and if they did have one, they wanted to sell me a full hub, which was somewhere around the £300 or £400 mark in order to replace this tiny piece. Luckily for me, there was someone on the Aston Martin owners Facebook group who did have one. The unfortunate part was he lives in America. Now luckily the chap only wanted $20 for this piece here, but it was the delivery where it stung as it cost me $41 to get this shipped over to the UK, which did sting a little bit, but it's a lot cheaper than buying a complete new hub, and also a lot less work, so I can just insert this metal piece in and not have to change over the whole hub, so it should be a much quicker job just popping this into place. But I can definitely say that's taught me a lesson: never throw anything away until you're done with a project. So there's a lesson to be learned for all of us there. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get this track rod end bushing stroke hub insert in place, and that's the running gear on the car completely sorted. Honestly, I could not be happier that I actually managed to find that little metal bushing for the track rod end. I was honestly thinking I was going to have to buy like a whole new hub or something daft in order just to get that piece, but luckily my man from America came through. So with the track rod end removed, we could then just tap in that insert with a lump hammer, which is probably not the best tool for the job, but after that, straight back in with the track rod end and tighten it back up, and that's that done. So the front end from here should be a pretty straight run. All we've got to do is put the headlights in, which I haven't got yet, get the new front grille in, which I haven't got yet, and it's pretty much there, and it just needs some colour matching everything up. But the back end of the car, even though the condition of it's fine, is looking very boring compared to the front. So as you've seen in the last video, I've also got a V12S boot and also rear bumper to liven things up back here. So I suppose that's the next job. But straight away I have a problem, and you guys didn't notice it either, so you can't call me daft. So what we've got on here is the normal boot off the V8 Vantage, which as you can see comes with the glass and the boot, and the hinges are kind of mounted up on the roof. And somehow silly me has managed to end up with the boot off a convertible because there's no glass with it. So I don't know what I'm going to do about this. I think I'm going to have to sell this one, unfortunately, or try and take it back to the chap that sold it to us and see if I can get one from somewhere else. To be honest with you, it just didn't even cross my mind that that'd be the wrong one, and it's just a daft little mistake, and these things happen, but we've still got the bumper to fit, even though I'm guessing that's off the same car. I'm hoping the convertible bumper will fit on my non-convertible, but again, only one way to find out. So I've turned the car around, put it front facing in the garage, so hopefully you guys can see what we're doing. But I think the rear lights have got to come out, and then I think we've got to take both of the rear wheels off, take the arch lines off, and that should reveal all of the bolts that we need to get this rear bumper off. So the first step for getting this rear bumper off is taking out the rear lights. This gives you access for all of the bolts, and to do that there's kind of 3 black domes in the boot of the Aston with a nut underneath. You take those off and the light is free from the car, unplug it and you're good to go. Next up is the wheel arch liners. Again, just a bunch of T30s and I believe 8 or 10 mils holding that in, and there is quite a few. So with those removed, we could start taking out the rest of the bolts. There's a few which kind of connect to the bumper to the body of the car, and some underneath where the lights go. Not too many here, to be honest with you, but there is one hidden one which I struggled to find for a long time.
Okay, that wasn't actually too bad to do. I know we've not got the bumper off yet, but it's ready to come off. But if you're going to attempt this yourself, there's bolts in all the normal places, so like behind the wheel arch lines and stuff like that, but also a sneaky one in the boot behind the carpet just here. Or was it here? No, there, that one there. And you've got to remove a little cap on this side and get the Torx bolt out, and then remove the tyre kit on the driver's side and take that one out, and then it's ready to come off. So let's give it a try.
Also, I forgot to mention, you do actually have to unbolt the exhaust tips, so I think you can either leave those on the car or the bumper. We're going to be changing them anyway, so I thought I may as well leave them attached to the bumper. And after unplugging the number plate lights and the parking sensors, we were off, and you can see I'm very happy about that. Now there is some differences between the V8 and the V12 rear bumper. The main one being that this bottom section on the V8 bumper is separate, and on the V12 one is carbon fibre. So we have to take off this diffuser section with all the grills and a couple of the parking sensors mounted in there too, and then we could start looking at fitting up that new bumper.
Okay, so here is the next part, and this is a V12 Vantage rear wiring loom for the parking sensors and the alarm system and a few other bits too. But the only reason that I think we're having to change this is because of the parking sensors themselves, which are these plugs here. On the V12 bumper, these are slightly different. They take a slightly different plug, and the size of the parking sensor is also slightly different. So rather than going at it like that and just drilling holes and going crazy, we're just going to try putting a new loom on from a V12 Vantage with the new parking sensors and the rear bumper, and hopefully doing it properly still works with this car. We're still praying a little bit because, well, we're not 100% sure it's going to work, but we can only try.
So we start positioning the new wiring loom. I think the only difference on this is, to be honest with you, the parking sensor plugs. I couldn't really see anything different about it, but it does also plug into the alarm box as well.
So someone mentioned in the comments on the last video that the exhaust tips on the V8 and the V12 and the V8S are exactly the same, which they are definitely not. The V12 one is definitely bigger, it's longer, it mounts differently, so if you are doing the conversion and trying to put the V8S or V12 bumper kit on the car, you do need the exhaust tips.
So I just wanted to give the exhaust tips a quick clean up with whatever I had lying around, and the only thing I had was a little bit of polish and some grey scotch, so that's what they got, but they definitely look a lot better for it. After that, Danny, who has been helping us throughout this video, fitted them to the car, and we're just about ready for that new bumper to go on.
So the Aston is now completely stripped down on the back end, and we've put the new wiring loom on and also cleaned up behind the lights and behind where the bumper goes, and got the exhaust tips cleaned and fitted up. And now, after we've transferred some bits from the old bumper to the new one, like the number plate lights and the reflectors, it's ready for the new bumper.
So carefully we position the bumper in place, plugging in everything that needs to be plugged in, and then gently caressing it onto the car. Luckily, because this is a genuine bumper, it goes on really, really nicely. It's not like fitting an aftermarket fiberglass one, thank God for that. So after all the bolts are back in, the rear lights can go back in, and we're pretty much back together.
So the new bumper is now on the car and it's back on the floor, and I think everything's gone okay. It's a bit of a shame about that boot, but that's just a silly mistake, and these things happen. Hopefully I can either find a replacement or an alternative, or sort something out to make the back of the car a bit more aggressive. But there is one thing that I'm a little bit worried about, is the parking sensors. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to work because of the new loom being off a different car. They should work in theory, but we've got to try it. Right, let's try it out. I can't hear over the engine. Yes, they're working. So that is a successful install on that rear bumper, and it wasn't too easy. It definitely wasn't a 2-minute job, and I'd definitely say it's a 2-man job as well, but it's definitely DIY-able. So big win, parking sensors work, well sure for that. But there's still plenty more to do. Okay, so we're having another productive video on the Aston Martin. We've already got that hub insert fitted. We've sussed out that I'm an idiot and I've bought the wrong boot. We have fitted up the rear bumper with all the new parking sensors and all that sort of stuff. So there's only one piece left of the V12 conversion which I can actually do. And that is the side skirts. I actually thought I was going to get away with not doing this piece because I thought you guys might not realise, but there's no pulling the wool over your eyes. You hit straight in the comment section saying I need to get some, and well, here they are, V12 side skirts. So yeah, hopefully these are going to be pretty easy to fit. I think there's a couple of bolts in the wheel arches, a couple of bolts underneath, and I think it's just clipped in from the top. So yeah, hopefully not too much of a pain in the arse, but as I've seen so far, there's never an easy job on this car. So to fit these side skirts, the first job is getting the side of the car jacked up and on axle stands, getting the wheels off, and normally would be removing the wheel arch liners. Obviously I knew I was going to be doing this job before driving the car, so I left them off, and to be honest with you, because of the V12 kit, I've also got to change them. There's a collection of bolts in both front and back wheel arch liners, and also underneath the seals in the door shut, and also underneath the car too. So these were all of the bolts that I could see at first, but there is a couple of sneaky ones that you've got to be careful with, otherwise I'm pretty sure you could very easily damage your side skirt.
Okay, so now the old side skirt is off and we can compare it to the new one. As I said, the old one is a standard V8 Vantage side skirt, and what we have here is a V12 or V8S Vantage side skirt, and it's pretty simple difference really. There's just a nice little contour and flick out on the V12 one that the V8 hasn't got, and this one just looks a bit more aggressive, so we know which one we're going to be going for. So if you are considering taking the old sill off yours, then there is two T10 Torx bits here and here, which are only accessible from the bottom. So if you take every bolt out, peel the side skirt up like that, and then you can get your socket up there and get them out that way, and that was what I found to be the best way to do it. But anyway, let's get on with it and get this V12 Vantage side skirt on.
So just like the rear bumper, these side skirts are a genuine Aston Martin item. They've come off another car already, so all of the holes are exactly where they should be. They clip in perfectly, and there's no faffing around like you get with a fiberglass one. And to be honest with you, it does make fitting all these body kits a hell of a lot easier. So I'd got all the bolts back in the door shut and underneath the car, and then it was just the ones in the wheel arch liners, and we could get the car back on the floor and admire our work.
And there we have one V12 side skirt fitted, and you almost instantly don't notice it, but it definitely adds a bit of flair to the car, a bit of width as well. And when you compare it to the other side, it's like the car almost just disappears underneath itself, where having that little flick on the edge of the side skirt just gives it that extra bit of meat, a bit of girth, and who don't like a bit of girth?
Now, one thing about that is that there is two to fit, so that means I've now got to go and do the other side. Cue the time lapse.
Now both side skirts are on. The last job that we have to do is reattach the rubber door seals. So just using a double-sided adhesive the same way they're held on from factory, we just stick it to the side skirt and stick the rubber seal in place. And there we have it. The Aston Martin now has all of the panels on that we're going to be putting on the car, and it is looking sweet. That V12 Vantage rear bumper with all that carbon fibre at the bottom and the bigger exhaust tips is looking loads better. You can't really see it too well in this light, but I promise you it is. And the new side skirt with that nice little flare out is making it look much wider in the middle too. I don't quite know how it's managed it, but this car with all these different coloured panels still somehow manages to look good, and it all seems to tie together. Like the silver on the side skirt is tied in with the wings, and the bonnet ties in with the black section of the side skirt, and the door. I'm not going to say it's going to stay like this, but it still manages to look good. And it is a shame about the boot, and it's a bit of a stupid mistake from me, but luckily the seller I've got them from is super honest, and it was his mistake as well, to be honest with you, so he's agreed to have that back in exchange for something else. So yeah, it's not another boot, I'll be straight with you. I have ordered something else for that, but that's going to be a few weeks, so we'll come back to that. Leave it for now and we'll revisit it in the future. So there is still a few little bits and bobs left to do, and it's pretty obvious what's left. The back end is pretty much complete, but the front end is missing headlights, a grille, and also that you can't see, the car now has no wheel arches because the V12 kit takes a different wheel arch set, so that is on its way soon as well. But you know, that's not exactly essential if I'm going to drive it on like a dry day or something. But you never know, if everything goes to plan, I may well be able to drive the Aston Martin Vantage in the next video, but we'll have to wait and see, because that's it for this time. So if you're not subscribed, make sure you're subscribed. It's free to do so. Like the video, and I'll catch you next time.